This is the Louie Tee Network.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie Tee? Welcome to Lockdown Coverage, breaking down every single matchup in the National Football League, week number 4. Atlanta Falcons at home in the Georgia Dome, taking on the Carolina Panthers. This was a big game in this division in the NFC South. You know how family business goes. If those two teams said they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, well, that's family business. Panthers looking to get back to 500 on the season. Meanwhile, the Falcons, coming off the drubbing of the New Orleans Saints on Monday Night Football, looking to go to 3-1 on the season and really put their stamp on this division. Remember, right now, going into this game, the Falcons were the only team in this division over 500. A win here would put the Panthers at 1-3, with the Saints already at 0-3, and the Buccaneers playing the Broncos in the 4 o'clock afternoon game. You could easily see a situation where everyone else in the division other than the Falcons would leave week number 4 at 1-3 or worse. So this is a huge game to put some separation between them and everyone else in the division. So let's get to the breakdown. Before we do, though, let me welcome each and every single one of you to this breakdown of Falcons and Panthers in week number 4. If this is your first time here, welcome to the channel and subscribe to the Louie Tee Network for more great content in 2016 and beyond. Also, there's Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. Go ahead, give me a like. I'm also on Twitter. At In the Lab Room is the Twitter handle. Give me a follow there. If you're watching on Twitter or on the live stream, use the hashtag LouieTeeLive to have your comment read at the end of this breakdown. That being said, let's jump right into this thing. Likes, dislikes, banana in the tailpipe. Moving forward, go to the first half likes. I always like to start with the road team. We'll start with the Carolina Panthers in this game in the first half. My likes, Andy Lee, guy you traded for right at the end of the preseason. Masterful job in the first half. 3 punts inside the 2-yard line. Okay, so you've got a couple of drives starting at the 2 and one starting at the 1, the last of which was right before halftime. So that one really wasn't a big deal, but it's still a hell of a kick by Andy Lee. And your only touchdown in the first half came because of the position Andy Lee put the Falcons in, pinning them at their own 2-yard line, and the Panthers able to make something happen after that. Speaking of which, the only other like for the first half for the Panthers, Thomas Davis with the deflection of a Matt Ryan pass. It goes into the air. It's then picked off by Kurt Coleman, who then scurries into the end zone to get the Panthers their first touchdown of the day. And that was a huge play at the time. Falcons had all the momentum in this game, were dominating this football game at the time. 17-3. They had seized control, firm control of this game. That pick six got the Panthers back within striking distance and wrestled a little bit of the momentum that the Falcons had built early in this game away from them. Let's get to the Falcons in their first half likes. Julio Jones. We're going to talk more about Jet Jones a little bit later on in this game. Man, was he a beast or what? He was huge in the first half. He already had 7 catches, $170 at the half. So you saw where this was going. It was a precursor as to what he would be at the games. And we'll talk more about Julio Jones a little bit later on. Matt Ryan, red hot in the offense in the first quarter is the next like 14 points in the opening frame. They went right down the field in the opening possession, got in the end zone. Jacob Tammy, the recipient of the first touchdown, to get right back down there again, get in the end zone again. Matt Ryan and company not playing around on offense, taking it to this Panthers defense that has started this season off a little shaky and probably had their worst showing of the season in this football game, giving it up to everyone on this Falcons football team. We'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. Matt Ryan was phenomenal in this game, and we'll talk about him a little bit more later on in this breakdown as well. And then the last first half, like the Falcons defense, how can you not like what they did in the first half? The Panthers went to the halftime break with 10 points. 7 of which came on a pick 6 created by the Panthers defense. So this Falcons defense, which was a liability coming into this game, everybody thought that this could be a situation where they get exposed in this football game. Remember, they were lit up on Monday Night Football by the New Orleans Saints. Everyone thought that they were going to continue to struggle in this game. Well, they showed up and played ball in the first half. They had some defensive breakdowns in the second half, but in the first half, this Falcons defense was lights out. They made Cam Newton uncomfortable in the pocket. No running game from which to speak of for the Panthers in that first half. And really for the duration of this game, they're really missing Jonathan Stewart, and you see the impact that his absence has on this offense. They had no running game, and give some credit to the Falcons up front for pressuring and making Cam Newton uncomfortable. A lot of high throws on third downs, a lot of tight coverage, tight man-to-man coverage. Cam Newton was errant, and those Falcons stops created opportunities for the Falcons to get the football back offensively, where they were dominant as well in the first half of this ball game. Let's get to the first half dislikes. We go back to Carolina, and there are a bevy of dislikes in the first half. Mainly, though, Cam early, I thought he struggled early in this ball game with his accuracy. He got a taunting penalty that hurt them early in this game. He missed on a third down to Ted Ginn Jr. He was wide open and he missed him. And to me, that was just a microcosm of the game for him. He was high. He was erratic all game long, made some poor decisions, including the one that got him knocked out of this game. We'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. Just thought Cam Newton didn't set the tone. You're on the road in a division in a game that you need your quarterback to set the tone early. I thought he did anything but set the tone for this team. As a matter of fact, he did set the tone. He set the tone for an ass whooping that would take place in this football game. You need your starting quarterback, your franchise guy, to make an impression early in this game. He didn't do that for this Panthers football team. And in the defense early in this game, I thought they struggled mightily in this game. You give up 2 touchdowns in the first frame, including a 98-yard touchdown march by this Panthers football team. You give up Julio Jones. You give up 7 catches for $170 in the first half of this football game. That is inexcusable for a Panthers defense that we've come to know is one of the better ones in the league. They're struggling. I have a couple of theories as to why. I'm not going to continue to beat that horse. It's dead, and it's been dead. They're struggling on defense right now, and we think we probably know why that is. They struggled in this game yet again, especially in the first half, but those struggles continued and leaked into the second half as well. Let's get to the first half dislikes for the Falcons. And it's just the Matt Ryan pick 6. Other than that, and that ball got deflected. Great play by Thomas Davis to knock that football in the air, and an even better play by Kurt Coleman to pick it off and get into the end zone. But other than that, the Falcons played stellar on defense, shut down the Panthers offensively, and they did what they had to do offensively to give them a lead at the halftime break. And they came out and played with that same intensity in the second half of this game, which puts some distance between them and the Panthers. As we move on to the second half, let's get to the likes in the second half for the Panthers. Showing fight. This was a Panthers team down big. At one point in this game, they were down 34-10 before running off 16 unanswered points, 8 of which came without Cam Newton in the game, as he went down with an injury that he sustained. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But 16 unanswered points to cut the lead to 8, a one-score game before the Falcons did it again. And they responded to every bit of adversity they had in this game. Every time the Panthers made it a one-score game, the Falcons effectively and efficiently put the game back out of reach. And so I give some credit. The Panthers showed the heart of a champion, but they just didn't have enough bullets left in the gun. The late touchdown to Philly Brown to get it back to a one-score game yet again, I thought was also a nice like for this Panthers team. They could have quit after the Julio Jones dagger to go back up 2 scores. They didn't. They went right back down the field, got in the end zone once again, and made it a one-score possession game before once again giving the Falcons an opportunity to run away with this game once and for all. Let's get to the second half likes for the Falcons in this game. Austin Hooper with a 42-yard touchdown, wide open, busted coverage. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Aldrick Robinson with the deep shot down the field for another touchdown on this Panthers defense over the top. Offensive line of the Falcons, give some credit to the offensive line. My goodness, What a difference Alex Mack makes on this offensive line. I didn't think that his presence would make this much of an impact, but it has. They run the football more effectively. Matt Ryan has time to survey the field, and maybe a lot of his struggles, maybe the interceptions and the incompletions, a lot of that can be traced back to the ineffectiveness of the offensive line in front of him. Now that they're protecting him, you see what Matt Ryan is doing. Man, is he playing some outstanding football. You must give credit to this Falcons offensive line for the start to the season for this Falcons offense. And the offensive efficiency that goes along with that offensive line also in my likes list as well. This offense was extremely efficient. Not a lot of incompletions. They ran the football when they needed to, when they wanted to. They threw the football around. A lot of guys getting involved. Taylor Gabriel climbing the ladder and going and getting the football. This was an effective offense. And even though Julio went off in this game, a lot of guys touched the football and had impacts on this football game from an offensive standpoint. Let's get to the big story of the day. Julio and Jet Jones. Matt Ryan and Julio Jones lit it up. Lit that Carolina Panthers defense up like a Christmas tree. 300 yards. No, it is not a misprint at the bottom of the screen. That's not a typo. 300 yards for Julio Jones in this ball game on 12 catches. This guy was insane in this game. Panthers had no answer for him in this game. And last time I checked, the Panthers didn't have these types of problems with Julio Jones in the past. But yet again, you see where this is going. Matt Ryan was exceptional. I'm right now, his name is Matty Damn, he's close to being Matty Ice again. 2 more big games on the road away from being Matty Ice. He's Matty 503 yards passing for the franchise QB of the Atlanta Falcons, dissecting and dismantling and destroying this Carolina Panthers defense. Play after play, time after time, Julio Jones making some huge catches on this Panthers defense, destroying them in the process, especially late in this game. Panthers cut it to a 1-score game at 26-34. Julio Jones promptly with a 75-yard catch and run to put the game back out of reach. This was a phenomenal performance by Matt Ryan and Julio Jones and this Falcons offense for that matter. Just amazing the way they played in this football game. 4 touchdowns from Matty in this game. He continues to start the season off red hot. And if you had to pick a guy for the MVP early in this season, I think Matt Ryan, after the first quarter of the season, would be your front runner for MVP. We got a lot of football left, and we've seen this act before from the Falcons. We've seen them jump out to hot starts. No need to look any further than last season, jumping out of the gate 5-0, 6-1 overall before having their season disintegrate in front of their face. So I'm not going to go overboard, but this was a huge win at home. And finally, the pick 6 by Robert Alford to put a nice, cute bow on this victory to get them to 48 points on the afternoon, picking off Derek Anderson and depositing it for a touchdown to seal the deal in this ball game. Let's get to the dislikes in this game in the second half for the Panthers, and they were plenty in this game. Defensive breakdown to Austin Hooper, and I could really just say the defense and just throw a whole blanket over it. This defense was horrible in this game. Big plays galore, breakdowns all over the place. Nothing, I don't think there was a play more indicative of the afternoon than the Austin Hooper touchdown. He's wide open. There isn't a Panther defender within 7 yards when he catches the football. He's able to get into the end zone. And they just had big play after big play. You get the Hooper touchdown. You get the Aldrick Robinson touchdown. The Julio catch and run touchdown. Too many big plays given up by this Panthers defense. And they gave up drive after drive after drive. Falcons started one drive inside the 2-yard line. And they went 98 yards in 6 plays on this Panthers vaunted defense and got in the end zone. They're right now struggling defensively. They're not making plays. And to me, it starts up front. We can blame the secondary all we want, and they're a huge part of why they're struggling defensively, but they're not getting enough pressure up front either, and they're not stopping the run as aggressively as they used to, and all of that stuff can be traced back to the secondary as well, but this defense struggled again, and this was an ugly performance, one you just want to put behind you if you're the Carolina Panthers. The offense let's not absolve them of the blame in this game. They struggled in this game, did the Panthers offensively. They didn't do anything in this game until Cam Newton essentially got injured and left this football game. The offense was stagnant. Now, Cam did take them on a touchdown drive prior to getting injured, but this offense struggled in this game and allowed the Falcons to jump on the Panthers. There was no answer from this offense when the Falcons, were going on their runs in the first half and into the second half. They had no answers offensively. Cam was erratic. He was off his game. They struggled in the run game. There was no run game which to speak of. They struggled offensively. And when the game was essentially done and over with, that's when the offense started to get going. When the Falcons decided we're going to give up everything underneath, nothing big, nothing cheap, nothing deep. You can have all the underneath stuff. That's when the Panthers started moving the football on this Falcons defense. Thomas Davis left the game with a hamstring injury. That's a little bit of a concern. He's a warrior. I expect him to be back next week if the Panthers do, in fact, have a game next week. But he did leave the game. But no injury was bigger than the Cam Newton injury. And I put this on my dislikes list because Cam was nonchalant. He caused this injury. This was a dumb play by Cam, being cocky and arrogant for what? I don't know. He's at the 1-yard line. He starts to trot up and trounce into the end zone like he's not going to be touched. And Deion Jones comes out of nowhere and wallops him. I mean, whops him, mollywops him, okay, and takes Cam down. Cam still stretches the football over the goal line. He was in previous to that hit, I believe, but it doesn't matter. Get in the end zone. What are you jogging to the end zone for like you're up by 30 in this game? You're down big in this game. Get in the end zone. Get the 2-point conversion. Try to get your team back in this game. He takes a shot, and he got knocked out of this game. And I don't ever want to see a guy get hurt, but he had that one coming to him because you don't jog into the end zone. You don't leave yourself exposed to taking a shot like that at the goal line. Get in the end zone. Hopefully he learned his lesson because he got smoked at the goal line by Deion Jones, knocked him out of the game. In comes Derek Anderson. And the Derek Anderson pick six is my final dislike in this game. Look, Derek Anderson is who he is. I get into arguments with Carolina Panthers fans all the time because I told them, look, Derek Anderson can play you into some ball games. He can play you out of ball games. Threw 2 interceptions. The last one I'm really not that concerned about. But that pick six, when you had a chance to try to tie the game up, inexcusable. Can't make that throw. But that's who Derek Anderson is at his core. He's another Ryan Fitzpatrick guy. Will play you in some ball games. Will throw you out of them as well. And you saw that at the end of this game when the Panthers needed him to step up. Even though he did some good things and got them back into this game, threw the pick when you couldn't afford a pick to be thrown. And of all things, on first down, the first opportunity he gets to do something, he throws it away, and that was the ball game. So this is a huge win for the Falcons. My banana in the tailpipe is I'm not going to get carried away with this victory. Is this Falcons defense this good? I don't know, because this is family business. You know these boys, so it's easy to rev it up. Remember, Panthers was scoring 40 on everybody last year. You held them to, I want to say it was 13 points last year, or 10 in that game where you beat them in the Georgia Dome last year. You know how to play the Panthers. They're in your division. It's family business. Is this Falcons defense actually legit? Because they got scored on in the second half of this game. I'm not sure. But one thing I do know, this offense is red hot. They are legit. And they're going to score with the best of them this season. And if they can just be good on defense, they don't have to be great. Hell, just mediocre on defense with the way they're playing offensively, going to be tough to stop this Falcons team moving forward. But I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe. They started 5-0 last year, 6-1. I was riding that Falcons wave. I thought they were going to win the division last year. They let me down. I am hesitant to go all in, chips pushed to the middle of the table on this Falcons team, but they look damn good right now. And for the Panthers, defensively, they're not going to be this bad moving forward. They just got scorched by a red-hot Falcons offense. They had no answers on this day. They're going to be back. I don't think that the Panthers are dead yet, but it's going to be an uphill battle for them for sure because there's a lot of self-inflicted wounds here, and this is a team that can't rely on the things that they used to, and now you have to reinvent a new way to win if you're the Panthers right now because the defense isn't what it used to be. It's just not. And so now you're going to have to figure out ways, manufacture ways to win games. Can't rely on this defense to win you ball games when the offense is struggling like they did today. You're going to have to find ways to score points, whether it be special teams, offensively, or creating some turnovers. You're going to have to find ways to get stops, get the football, and score points to win games. I don't think this defense is this bad. 48 points that were accounted for in this game weren't all on this defense, but they gave up a ton of yards and points defensively in this game. I have my doubts, but I'm not down and out on this Panthers defense. That's my banana in the tailpipe. They're not this bad defensively as you saw in this game. So let's get to a couple of your comments here as we wrap this thing on up. See. Captain Spartan 04 says, what do you think of the Falcons is going to look like second half of the season? Hard to say. We're still in the first half of the season. We're a long way from the second half of the season. So these are some big games coming up. The Falcons are at Seattle, at Denver. Don't know if that's the exact order, if it's flip-flop or not. But at Denver, at Seattle, two huge matchups. If they can just get one of those, then I'll know they're for real. They go and lose both of those games, you got a whole different ball game coming back down to earth at 3-3. And then it's a whole different story because you never know what these other teams in the division will be doing in that same time period. So don't want to run too far away with this. It's a great win. Got to feel good if you're a Falcons fan after this win, but do not get carried away with this one just yet. Sean McKenzie said, Atlanta did this last season, not buying the Falcons yet. And that's kind of the position I'm taking, even though I feel like they're better offensively. At least last year, I had doubts offensively, even though they started 5-0, 6-1. I had doubts offensively. They weren't doing what they're doing right now offensively last year. There's a stark difference between what I saw from them offensively last year and this year. They look dominant, explosive. They look like the offense that went all the way to the NFC Championship game in 2012. That's how good they look offensively right now. Tyree Mosby says, do you think Josh Norman carried the Panthers last year, or do you think the Panthers are different without him? Of course they're different without him. They're hurting right now. Did you see Julio Jones go off for 300 yards against them last year, the year before that? No, you didn't see that. So there's a stark contrast and difference between the Panthers with Josh Norman and without. And you put this one square in the lap of their GM, Dave Gettleman, because he was cocky and arrogant. And ultimately, down the road, those corners may prove to be good, and they might be fine. But like I said, in the short term, they're going to feel the impact of the loss of Josh Norman because this defense was everyone tried to make it seem like the front seven made Josh Norman. It was a little bit of both. The front seven helped Josh Norman in his coverage, but Josh Norman helped that front seven. They don't have a dominant rusher, and I said that last year, and everybody got on me in the Super Bowl when I said the Panthers don't have a dominant edge rusher, okay? They were getting pressure from the interior with their guys, especially KK up short, but they don't have a dominant edge rusher, and you're seeing that now. And so now that the coverage on the back half isn't as good, you're seeing them getting gashed. Big plays are being given up. And also, what we're not talking about a lot of is how Josh Norman's coverage allowed them to run blitz and be more aggressive. Now teams are being able to run the football on them effectively as well. So they're struggling right now. There are a lot of issues with this Panthers football team, but I'm not down and out on them yet. I'm not. I still think they got a shot. They're going to have to clean some things up, but I'm not down and out. They're a champion at heart, and they're going to figure a way out of this hole that they've dug themselves at 1-3 on the season. Damon Brown says, ATL winning their division. I'm not running away with that yet. We're only 4 games into the season. I'm not going to make that statement right now in week 4. I've seen this from the Falcons. I've seen this movie before, not falling for the banana in the tailpipe. Damon Brown said, I told you the Panthers secondary is really suspect. Who said they weren't? Everybody acknowledged that secondary was going to struggle this year. What we couldn't account for was the struggles of the front seven, them giving up yards on the ground and them giving up these huge plays. We knew they were going to have some defensive breakdowns, but we thought the offense also was going to be able to score. They're getting Kelvin Benjamin back. Hey, they're going to put up points on teams. They're struggling offensively as well to start this season. Captain Spartan 04 says, are you going to apologize for what you said to Sanu? Why would I apologize? Has he done anything to make me apologize to him? He's still check, 1-2, 1-2. Guess who? Mohamed Sanu. He's the one guy that didn't have an impact on this game. If you look at what the Falcons did, Taylor Gabriel had an impact. Aldrick Robinson had an impact. Okay? Austin Hooper had an impact. Julio Jones. Sanu hasn't done anything really this season. Why would I apologize? He's still Mohamed Sanu. He's a solid guy. He's not a guy that's going to change the game. I'm not changing my stance on that. Damon Brown says Sanu was indeed a good investment. He was an okay investment. That's fine if you guys want to run with that. Captain Spartan 04 says, would you believe me more if I said the Falcons missed the playoffs or the Falcons made the NFC Championship? Again, it's so early to make those kinds of black or white statements. It's too early. There's so much gray area right now with this team and every team in the league for that matter. I mean, if I had to pick, I'd say I'd be more likely to lean towards the Falcons making the NFC championship game, but I'm not comfortable saying that. Their defense isn't good enough to make it to the NFC championship game. At least I don't believe so. So, and look, I just told you what their next 2 games are. They could easily be 3-3 after this. Don't be too overreactionary and fall prey. I don't want to have you guys making these statements and then 2 weeks later when I'm breaking down Falcons at Seattle and they're 3-3, and I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, then you say, oh man, we were wrong about it. Relax. Pump your brakes. Andre Mogul says, who do you believe is the most underrated offseason pickup for the Falcons? Honestly speaking, I think that guy's going to end up being for you. You're not going to really want to hear this, but it's going to end up being Dwight Freeney because if you're going to play offense like this, you're going to need to get pressure on the quarterback. I think he got a sack again today. You're going to need pressure. Guys aren't getting to the quarterback consistently. And so, with that being said, you're going to have to be able to pin your ears back and get to the quarterback. And I think right now, the only guy that I trust to do that is going to be Dwight Freeney when it's all said and done. So I think Dwight Freeney is going to be the guy. But there have been plenty of pickups. But Alex Mack is not an underrated offseason pickup, but he's the most important by far. It's not even up for discussion. He has changed the whole culture of that offensive line and the mindset of this offense because now you can do things up front that you couldn't do before. And they're having so much success with him at center. Big win for the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons lead this game at 3-1, take a commanding lead in this division. We'll see what Tampa Bay does in the 4 o'clock game because if they lose and they drop to 1-3, the Falcons will have a 2-game cushion over every single team in the division. That is huge. Panthers drop to 1-3. It's tough right now, but they've got an opportunity to bounce back. We'll see if they're able to take advantage of some games down the road. They got to get healthy first. What's the status of Cam Newton? What's the status of Thomas Davis? If he's able to come back, if Cam is able to come back, I think they're going to get back on their horse and they're going to make a run at this division. Don't write this Panthers team off. I'm telling you right now, do not write them off just yet. That's going to do it for me here on Lockdown Coverage. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down everything and everything in the National Football League. Boy, was this very impressive by the Atlanta Falcons, but more work to be done. We're only 4 weeks in, but right now, 4 weeks in, the Panthers don't look like the class of this division. The Falcons do. I'll see you next time. I got plenty more games to break down in week 4. See you later on Lockdown Coverage.